The prisoner in the cage. The prison smelled like old blood and burnt metal. The lights flickered as human Captain Darren was pushed through the long hallway. Two tall, armored alien guards walked behind him, silent and cold. His hands were tied, his face bruised and his eyes tired, but still he watched everything carefully. He had been caught on a scouting mission near the Zarnek sector. His ship was shot down. Now he was just another war prisoner. As they turned a corner, Darren noticed a strange glowing cage on the right side. It was different from the others. It wasn't metal. It was made of some kind of energy field. Soft blue light formed a cube in the air. Inside it was a girl. She wasn't human. Her skin was a soft silver blue. Long white hair fell over her face, and her body was wrapped in thin cloth, torn and dirty. Her arms were chained to the back wall, but her eyes were wide open, and she was staring at him. Her eyes, they weren't full of fear. They were full of hope. Darren slowed his step for just a second. The guards didn't notice, but the alien girl did. Her lips moved. She didn't speak out loud, but she whispered something. Somehow he heard it in his mind. "Humans, how please. I am not your enemy." Darren blinked. Was she telepathic, or was he just tired and imagining it? He kept walking, but her image stayed in his mind. In the holding cell, Darren sat, on the cold floor. The walls were damp and small lights buzzed above his head. No food, no bed, just silence. But even here the memory of her voice echoed. Hours passed, maybe more. He didn't know how long. Then, footsteps. Two guards walked past his cell. They were laughing. One of them said, "That breeder is still alive, she's useless. Nobody wants her now." "Should have sold her to the black markets," the other replied, "or tossed her in the waste pit." Darren frowned. "Breeder?" He stood and walked to the cell bars. He waited until the guards left. Then, he whispered into the, "Oh, hey, Silver Girl, can you hear me?" No answer. He tried again. "You spoke to me earlier. I heard you. Who are you?" A few seconds passed. Then he felt it. A soft pressure in his mind. "I am Solari, last of my kind. You are not like the others. You looked at me, like I was real." Darren leaned against the bars. "What are you doing here?" "Captured years ago. My species was made to create life, powerful life. We were created in labs. My body carries energy that others desire, but I refused them, so they locked me here to rot." Darren's jaw tightened. "So you're a prisoner too?" "Yes. And I don't want to die in a cage." There was silence for a moment. Then, she added something that chilled him to the bone. "I can feel it, your blood, it's strong. If I merge with you, we can create something powerful." They failed. "But you might save me." Darren took a step back. "What do you mean? Merge? Touch, connection, life. My body is made to react to strong DNA. Yours is calling to me." He shook his head. "This is insane. I'm not some lab project." But still, deep inside, he felt drawn to her voice. It wasn't lust, it was something older. A strange bond, like fate was tying something together. "Show mercy, human," she whispered again in his mind. "Not for me, but for what I can give you. My body holds a future you can't imagine." Footsteps returned. The guards were making rounds. "Go. They can't know we spoke." Her voice faded. Darren stepped away and sat back down, acting like nothing happened. But his heart was racing, and he knew one thing for sure. She wasn't lying. Something inside her was real. And now that something was connected to him, I'm not like them. Darren couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her, Solari, the silver-skinned alien girl with glowing eyes. A prisoner like him, yet somehow still full of strange power. He had seen many horrors during the war, burning cities, falling ships, betrayals from people he once called friends, but he had never seen anything like her. Not just her beauty, but her presence, Her words had planted something deep inside him, and it was growing. He sat in the dark, back against the wall, listening to the low hum of the alien prison. And then, he felt it again. "You're awake." Her voice echoed softly in his mind. He didn't answer right away. "You're scared," she added. "But I am too." For the first time since his capture, Darren spoke softly into the empty cell. "What do you want from me, Solari?" Her answer came slow and gentle. "Not what others wanted, not force, not control. I want freedom, and maybe hope." He frowned. "You said I could give you powerful offspring. Why me?" "Because your kind wasn't part of the design. My body reacts to power. When you walked by, it woke something inside me, a spark. No alien ever caused that." Darren paced the floor, whispering, "You don't even know me." "No, but I felt your pain, I heard your memories, the implant in your head, it opened a bridge between us." He stopped walking. "You've seen my memories?" "Just flashes. A burning ship, a girl in a red scarf, your last mission." Darren's face turned pale. No one knew about that girl. She had died in his arms, now he believed her. Later that night, a guard came by. Darren stayed quiet and watched carefully. The alien was distracted, laughing with another guard about winning some sort of death match. When they left, Darren moved, fast. He pulled out the small metal splinter he had hidden under his skin, a survival tool from his crashed ship. He walked to the wall where a service panel blinked quietly. It was old tech, but he knew this design. He popped it open. "You're planning something," Solari said inside his mind. "Yes," he whispered. "If I break you out, we'll both be hunted." "I know. Do you have powers? Can you fight?" "Not like your weapons, but I can protect you. And I won't slow you down." Darren looked up at the glowing hallway. "If this goes wrong," he said, "we'll both die." "If we do nothing," she replied, "we still die. At least this way, we have a chance." The next day passed slow. He kept working when the cameras blinked. Bit by bit, he cracked the lock on her cage. The alien tech was strong, but not perfect. Darren had survived worse. That night, a storm hit the prison. Thunder shook the walls. The guards drank and laughed. Distracted. It was time. He waited for the main hallway lights to flicker, then sprinted out of his cell. The override panel opened. He pressed the final code. Solari's cage cracked open. She didn't move at first. Just stared. "You really came," she whispered out loud. "Yes," he said. "Now run." But her legs were weak. She had been locked for too long. Darren grabbed her arm and pulled her through the hallway. Suddenly, an alarm screamed through the speakers. Red lights flashed. Guards shouted in the distance they had been seen. They ducked behind old crates as footsteps grew closer. Solari trembled. "I can't go faster," she gasped. "My body. It's reacting to your presence. It's too much." "What do you mean?" She looked at him. Her eyes were glowing brighter now, and her skin shimmered like hot silver. "You've touched my soul," she said. "Now my body is changing, adapting to you." Darren's heart pounded. "Can you hold on?" Solari nodded weakly. "Yes, just don't let go." He pulled her into a dark tunnel as plasma blasts flew past them. Metal sparked, guards roared, but they kept moving. Together, behind them, the alarms screamed. Ahead of them, the unknown. And between them, a connection neither fully understood, but both now needed to survive. The Great Escape. The tunnel was narrow, hot, and filled with smoke. Darren held Solari close to his side as they stumbled forward, his arm wrapped tightly around her waist, her body glowing faintly in the dark. Every few steps she coughed, her skin flashing with strange pulses of light. The prison above them was shaking, sirens howled, and voices shouted in a language Darren didn't understand. Behind them, chaos. In front of them, freedom or death. Darren, she whispered. My body. It's changing too fast. He looked at her. Her silver blue skin was now turning white hot, and glowing lines ran down her arms like living tattoos. Her breath was short, but her grip was strong. You're burning up, he said. We need to get out. Now. 10 minutes earlier, Darren had punched in the final override code. The prison's internal lights blinked out, alarms screamed, and the power, holding Solari's cage, vanished in a flash of static. She stepped out, barefoot, weak, but free. For the first time in years, she breathed open air, and for a brief moment, she smiled, but the moment was cut short. Prisoner escape, Sector C9. A robotic voice roared from the ceiling. Doors slammed, shut. Security drones lit up red, and the chase began. Back in the tunnel, Darren and Solari heard footsteps above them, heavy, fast, alien boots pounding the metal walkways. Suddenly, a hatch above exploded open, and a long, silver arm reached down. A guard dropped in, blocking their way. Darren didn't hesitate. With his stolen shock blade, he lunged forward and sliced across the alien's chest. The creature screamed, but swung back hard, knocking Darren to the ground. Solari stepped in between them. She raised her glowing hand, and without warning, a blast of raw energy shot from her palm. The alien guard was flung back into the wall with a crash, his body smoking. Darren stared at her in shock. You didn't tell me you could do that. Solari blinked, stunned. I didn't know I could. They didn't wait. Darren grabbed her hand again and they ran. After several tight turns and near dead ends, they reached a broken loading bay. The room was full of old scrap and crates, long forgotten. A ship part lay buried under dust. A broken cargo cart leaned against the far wall. And luckily, a service ladder led to a hidden maintenance hatch above. This is our way out, Darren said. Solari was shaking. My energy. It's too unstable. I can't climb. Darren didn't speak. He crouched, pulled her onto his back, and started climbing. Step by step, the weight of the world, and the galaxy's last hybrid hope, was on his shoulders. They reached the top. He kicked the hatch open and pulled them into the cold night air. The sky was dark purple, filled with twin moons. They had made it out of the prison compound, but they were far from safe. Darren spotted blinking lights in the distance, search drones. Guards were already spreading out. He turned to Solari. We need shelter, somewhere they won't find us. She looked toward the jagged hills beyond the valley. There's an old ruin. My ancestors built it before we were bred as slaves. I remember stories. It may still be there. Without another word, they ran. Hours passed. Blisters formed on Darren's feet. Solari was barely conscious, but her body was still glowing. They finally reached the ruins. Stone walls broken by time, half covered in moss and dust. It was silent, abandoned. They found a small chamber below the surface, cool and dark. Darren laid Solari down on the floor. Her breathing was rough but steady. Then she opened her eyes. Your touch, your blood, it woke something I didn't know I had. I'm scared, Darren. He sat beside her. So am I. She reached for his hand. But I believe this connection is not an accident. It's destiny. Outside, the wind howled across the alien desert. Inside, a human and an alien girl, both broken, hunted, and lost, shared a moment of silence. And something deeper than fear. Whatever was coming next. They were in it together. What's growing inside her? She screamed in the dark. Darren woke up with a jolt. His heart raced as he turned toward Solari, who was curled on the cave floor, her body glowing wildly, light pulsing from her skin like breathing fire beneath ice. She held her stomach, her nails digging into the stone, her back arching in pain. Solari! He rushed to her side. She didn't open her eyes, but her voice came out low and shaken. It's starting. I can't stop it. What's starting? He asked, kneeling beside her, panic rising. What's happening to you? Her breath shook. Something is growing inside me, and it's because of you. A few hours earlier, they had finally found safety in the ancient underground ruin. Darren had placed makeshift barriers using broken metal and stone to block the entrance. They had eaten dried protein packs from his emergency kit, and Solari had even laughed softly for the first time. But now that moment felt far away. She was burning. Darren watched in fear as golden veins lit up across Solari's body. They moved, slowly like rivers of light beneath her skin. Her breathing was shallow. She was sweating, shaking, whispering words in a language he didn't know. Tell me what to do, he said desperately. How do I help? She reached out blindly and grabbed his hand. Just don't leave me. It's your presence, your blood. It triggered the ancient code locked inside me. I thought it would take weeks, but my body, it's reacting faster. Darren gritted his teeth. You're telling me I got you pregnant with a look? No, she said weakly. With your soul. He blinked. That's not something I've ever heard before. Solari gave a weak smile. I am not like anyone you've ever known. Suddenly her body convulsed again. A small sphere of glowing light rose from her chest, floating for a second, then sank back inside her with a quiet flash. Darren gasped. What was that? She breathed heavily. It's the core. The life core. Not a baby. Not yet. It's something more. A seed of what we can become. Human energy, mixed with what's left of my kind's ancient design. If it grows fully, it will change everything. Darren helped her sit up. You mean it's alive? She nodded slowly. And they'll come for it. They'll feel it across the stars. They'll know I'm no longer just a broken tool. He looked at her and for the first time saw more than a scared girl. He saw a spark of something larger, something powerful, something sacred. They sat in silence for a moment. Then she said quietly, I don't want to be alone when it happens. You're not alone, he replied. I didn't plan any of this, but I won't run from it either. Solari leaned her head on his shoulder. You were supposed to be my savior. She whispered, half asleep. Darren whispered back, maybe you're saving me too. Suddenly, a noise, a low hum. Buzzing. Not from inside the ruin, but above them. Darren stood up fast, his hand on his weapon. Solari's eyes shot open. They found us. Above, through a crack in the ceiling, a blue light blinked. A drone. Darren cursed. We've got to move. Solari shook her head. I can't. If I move now, the process might fail. The core could collapse. Darren looked around, thinking fast, then he said, Then I'll stop them. You stay hidden. She looked at him with wide, fearful eyes. They'll kill you. He smiled tightly. Then I'll kill them first. As Darren climbed toward the surface, he didn't know what he feared more, the army that was coming, or the unknown thing glowing inside the alien girl he just promised to protect. But he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't just fighting to survive anymore. He was fighting for her, and for whatever miracle they had accidentally created together. The bounty hunters arrive. The sky cracked open with fire. From the top of the rocky ridge, Darren saw it first. A black ship falling fast from the clouds, flames licking its hull as it came down like a predator. It didn't land. It slammed into the earth with a heavy quake, dust exploding outward in a wide wave. Solari, still hiding in the shadow of the ruined temple, gasped. That's not a patrol ship. That's a hunter craft. Darren narrowed his eyes. He knew the type. That's a bounty ship, and they're here for us. He moved quickly, checking the remaining charge on his stolen plasma pistol. 2 full shots left, maybe 3 if he squeezed. He peeked over the rocks again. From the downed ship, 4 bounty hunters stepped out. Each was twice his size, covered, in thick armor with glowing red visors. One carried a shock lance. Another dragged a beast on a chain, something muscular, with too many teeth and armor scales on its back. Solari's voice trembled as she whispered from behind. They're elite harvesters. They don't take prisoners, they take pieces. Darren didn't flinch. Then they'll leave here in pieces too. Solari was weak, still glowing faintly. Her body trembled as she held her belly, where the glowing core now pulsed steadily beneath her skin. She looked up at Darren. If they kill you, the core will lose its anchor. It'll die. He placed his hand gently on her cheek. Then I guess I better not die. Without another word, he turned and ran toward the ridge. From his position above, Darren rolled down a smoke charge. It burst with a hiss, and the field below filled with dark fog. The bounty hunters paused, scanning. Then, Darren struck. He jumped down and fired a shot straight through the visor of the closest bounty hunter. The body dropped like stone. The others shouted in their alien tongue and split up. The beast on the chain roared and charged. Darren dove to the side, barely missing its jaws. One bounty hunter shot wildly into the fog, grazing Darren's shoulder. He gritted his teeth and ducked behind a stone pillar, blood dripping down his arm. He was outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. Back in the temple, Solari crawled to the edge of the ruins. She could feel Darren's pain through the bond. Then she closed her eyes and focused. You protected me. Now I protect you, she whispered. On the battlefield, just as the beast leapt toward Darren's throat, a flash of white light exploded. From the ruins, the hunters froze. The ground trembled. From the shadows, Solari rose. But she no longer looked weak. She glowed like a goddess made of stars. Her eyes were bright silver. Her hair floated as if touched by wind, and the symbols on her skin burned like fire. The bounty hunters stepped back. She's activated, one hissed in their language. Too late, she's merged. Darren, panting and injured, looked up in shock. Solari? She raised her hand. The beast snarled and suddenly stopped. It whimpered, then backed away. Whatever power Solari held now, even monsters feared it. With a gentle movement, she lifted her other hand, and the remaining bounty hunters dropped their weapons, screaming in pain as their suits overloaded. Lightning surged through them. Sparks flew. The last one turned to run, but Darren didn't let him. He stood despite the pain and tackled the alien to the ground. With one last punch, he ended it. Silence. Only the wind moved now. Darren stumbled back to Solari, who was kneeling on the dirt, breathing hard. The glow from her body was fading slowly. He caught her before she fell. You shouldn't have done that, he said softly. You would have died, she replied. I couldn't let that happen. You saved me. So, we're even. That night they rested near a quiet stream below the hills. Darren wrapped her in the remains of his jacket. Solari placed her hand over her chest and whispered, The core is stable now. It's fully awakened. But this was only the beginning. Selm looked at her carefully. What happens next? She looked at the stars. Now, we run. Because the galaxy will come for what's inside me. They'll want it, fear it, try to take it. And you? I just want to keep it safe. With you. Darren nodded. He didn't know where the road would go or how long they had, but he knew one thing. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was now a guardian of something more than life, of hope. The birth of power lightning danced across the sky. Not from clouds, not from nature. It came from her. Solari's body floated 2 feet above the ground, wrapped in swirling energy, her hair glowing like strands of fire, her eyes wide open but filled with white light. The ancient ruin around them began to crack. Stones lifted from the floor, symbols lit up on the walls that hadn't glowed in 1,000 years. Darren stood frozen below her. He had seen battlefields, he had seen superweapons, but this was birth, not of a child, but of something much greater. 10 hours earlier, they had found peace. Darren had cleaned his wounds. Solari rested, curled beside a small fire. She looked fragile again. Her body no longer shimmered. The glow had faded. "I think the danger passed," she said softly. Darren smiled. "Maybe we finally get a quiet night." But when the moon rose, high and the wind grew still, she gripped her chest and gasped. "It's coming." He rushed to her side. "What? What is?" Her fingers trembled. "The core. It's ready to be born." Now her transformation shook the very ground beneath them. Solari's body twisted in the air, not in pain, but in power. She wasn't screaming. She was singing, a strange, echoing hum that filled the entire ruin. Darren shielded his eyes as the light grew stronger. Then suddenly it all stopped. Solari collapsed into his arms. She was shaking, sweating, but breathing. In her hands, she held a sphere of light, small and pulsing, like a beating heart made of stars. Darren stared. "What is that?" Solari smiled through her exhaustion. "It's the future." The sphere floated between them now, spinning slowly. It made no sound, but Darren felt something inside his chest shift, like his own heartbeat had synced with it. Solari whispered, "It's not alive. Not the way we are. It's knowledge, DNA, weapon, child, tool, all in one." He gently reached toward it. When his fingers touched it, a shock ran through his entire body. His vision went black. He saw things, flashes of battles in alien skies, strange creatures bowing before a glowing queen, human DNA merging with ancient alien lines forming, something new, something powerful. Then he saw himself, standing not as a soldier but as a symbol, a protector, and Solari at his side. He gasped and pulled back. The sphere dropped to the ground with a soft hum. Solari placed her hand on his chest. "It accepted you. That's rare." He looked at her, eyes wide. "What am I now?" "Not just human," she said. "Not just soldier. Now you carry the bond. You're its guardian. And its guide." Outside, clouds began to shift. Something far away had felt the energy pulse. Solari's expression turned serious. "They'll feel it. Every scanner, every sensor across systems. They'll know something was born today, something their kind couldn't control." Darren stood up, muscles aching but alive. "Then we move." She nodded. "We run now. But one day, we return. Stronger." They packed what little they had. Solari placed the sphere in a protective case, then tied it close to her body with cloth. Darren handed her a scavenged rifle. "Just in case," she smiled. "Let's see what I can do with one of your weapons." They stepped out of the ruins, into the alien night. Above them, distant ships were already changing course. War was coming again. But this time, they weren't running scared. They were carrying something the galaxy had never seen, and the stars would never be the same again. The human weapon and his mate. The capital of the alien empire stood tall, black towers piercing the clouds, glowing, red symbols circling their peaks like blood dripping from the sky. The streets were quiet, filled only with armed patrols and silent drones. No one laughed. No one smiled. At the city gates, a lone figure walked forward. Dust clung to his boots. A scorched jacket covered his chest. A long weapon hung on his shoulder. And in his left hand, he held a small glowing case. It was Darren, and he had come to end it. 3 weeks had passed since the birth of the core. Solari had grown stronger. Her body now carried the marks of full activation, glowing silver tattoos that shifted like waves across her skin. Her voice had become sharper, her movements faster. She was no longer hunted prey. She was his equal. And the galaxy's future walked beside her, but they didn't come to hide anymore. They came to return what was taken. They came to deliver a message. You feared what we could become. Now look at us. Back at the gates, the guards laughed when they saw Darren. A human? One scoffed. Where's the rest of your army? Darren smiled. Then Solari stepped out of the shadows behind him. The guards' faces dropped. Her glow sent a shiver down their spines. It's her. One gasped. The breeder who awakened. That's impossible, she should be dead. Darren raised his weapon. We brought something for your emperor. Before the guards could react, Solari raised her hand and their weapons melted in their arms. She didn't even blink. Inside the city, chaos exploded. Alarms, sirens, military bots filled the streets. Elite troopers took position on the palace steps. Darren and Solari didn't stop. They walked straight through the gunfire. The energy sphere floated between them, forming a glowing shield that deflected every blast. People watched from windows, silent, frozen. They had heard stories, rumors. Now they saw the truth. The last human and the alien girl once thrown away now walked like gods. In the throne room, the emperor rose from his seat. A towering alien with 6 arms and glowing red eyes, he pointed a massive blade at them. You think you've won, human? He growled. You're just one. Darren stepped forward. I'm not just one. I'm human. That's enough. Solari raised the sphere above her head. This is what you tried to control. This is what you threw away. A child of peace, strength, and unity. We didn't come to fight. We came to end the fight. The emperor laughed. Then die with your hope. He rushed forward, but he never reached them. The sphere pulsed once, then twice, and exploded into light. The entire palace shook. Walls cracked, glass shattered, and from that light, a storm of memory, truth, and power poured out. Every person in the city felt it. Visions of what the galaxy could become. A future where no one was created to be used. A future where strength meant protection, not control. The emperor dropped to his knees. Solari walked to him, eyes full of tears, not of weakness but of forgiveness. You could have been more, she whispered, but you chose fear. She turned her back. Darren stood beside her. They walked out of the throne room hand in hand, while the world behind them crumbled and rebuilt itself. Months later, peace talks began. Races that once hunted each other now met under one star. The baby named Darren became legend, and Solari became something even more, a symbol of new life. And the sphere? It was placed inside a growing sanctuary on a moon once used for war testing. Now it pulsed in calm silence, protected by humans and aliens alike. Darren looked up at the stars one night. Beside him, Solari leaned her head on his shoulder. Still think I'm just a soldier? He asked. She smiled. You're more than that. He kissed her temple gently. I never thought mercy could change the universe, he said. She whispered back. It always does. And across the galaxy, whispered in shadows and sung in light. The tale was told, she begged for mercy, and the human gave her a future, not just for her, but for them all.